down, please. License and registration, please. You're observed swerving. Thank you. Wait. Get back!
There's a centuries-old Easter tradition that's both unique and thrilling to watch. Every year, people gather at the church to witness what's known as the Scoppio del Carro, or Explosion of the Cart. It's a festival spectacle rooted in deep symbolism and history. At the heart of this tradition is a long wire strung from the altar of the church to the cart packed outside. Attached to the wire is a small rocket-like device often designed to look like a dove or symbol of the Holy Spirit. The rocket is lit inside the church and blazes down the wire, shooting toward the cart filled with fireworks outside. If all goes well, it hits the cart, setting off a colorful and dramatic explosion of fireworks. Then, just as impressively, the rocket flies back into the church. According to tradition, if the dove successfully ignites the fireworks and returns to the altar, it's considered a sign of prosperity and good fortune for the coming year. And in the footage shared this year, it did exactly that.
Then he pulled up a scientific, real flat Earth map from 1800. The guy was like, "What is flat Earth map?" He said, "The United Nations logo. They use it. They throwing it in our face. The map that we use is wrong. It's different. They changed it. This is the actual map, and you can look up in encyclopedias. You can go and check one out. The library. It's a map that was. It says like it's proven. It's a map, and it's scientifically proven. It's a fact that these are the maps that they use. It's a flat Earth map, and you have to fly over Alaska to get to LA. So
From Asia?
Yeah, but Alaska is right by us. It's not far up, but by LA. It's not far. It's not more north than what we think. So like we've been lied to. So that is an emergency landing. Then I started looking to other emergency landings, and I started looking to like layovers and stuff like that, and a lot of stuff didn't make sense. Why they would fly all the way up here to change, then like the flat Earth map is totally different. Then once you kind of look into the flat Earth map, and then and when you fly across the world and you know like the layouts and where to stop and stuff, then it kind of make sense. The flat Earth, and that's what took me over the edge was that the emergency.
In 2004, 23-year-old Florida teacher Deborah LaFave was arrested for having an illegal relationship with her 14-year-old student, in other words, raping him, after the boy's aunt caught them together and alerted his mother. What made the case even more disturbing was the public's reaction. Instead of outrage, much of the media fixated on her looks, calling her too pretty for prison, and treating the abuse like a scandalous affair rather than a crime. She pled guilty in 2005 and was sentenced to 3 years of house arrest, 7 years of probation, and lifetime registration as a sex offender, but never spent a single day in prison.
He had a 20-year intimate relationship with a man, even giving him a child. But how he pulled all this off is one of the most elaborate deceptions in history. It was 1964 when French diplomat Bernard ran into the Chinese spy Xi Pei. As a woman, he had a 20-year intimate relationship with a man, even giving him a child. But how he pulled all this off is one of the most elaborate deceptions in history. It was 1964 when French diplomat Bernard ran into the Chinese spy Xi Pei, whose goal was to get Bernard to fall in love with him. Now, it's said the spy had a unique ability to retract his male parts inside of him and create the illusion of female parts. That, coupled with the fact Bernard had never been with a woman before, he apparently had no questions during intimacy. To really cement the relationship, she faked a pregnancy and purchased a child, saying it was their biological son who Bernard raised as his own. Bernard fell deeper in love while she was getting access to tons of classified information. Eventually, the French government got suspicious of espionage, brought the two to court where doctors inspected Xi, and that's when Bernard found out the past 2 decades of his life had all been a lie. Bernard tried to off himself in prison but was unsuccessful and is actually still alive today. And when he found out of Xi's passing, he said, quote, "The plate is clean now. I am free."
Meditation is easily one of the most fascinating practices in the world. You'd be surprised by the kind of things people have achieved through deep meditation, mastering their minds and training their bodies to reach extraordinary states. Take this yogi, for instance, sitting completely still in the snow deep in meditation. The snowflakes gently fell on him, piling up, but he didn't flinch. No warm clothing, no visible discomfort, just stillness. It's said that some yogis can control their body heat through meditation, allowing them to withstand freezing temperatures without feeling the cold at all. There's also the story of a man who decided to keep his arm raised for the rest of his life as a spiritual offering. The first few years were painful beyond belief, but through meditation and discipline he got used to it. Over time his body adapted, and that became his new normal. Then there's the tale of a Buddhist monk who set out to walk over 10,000 kilometers in 100 days, training both his mind and body to stay in a constant state of flow. Every step was part of a meditative ritual, and he did it without faltering. One of the most astonishing stories is that of a teenage boy who reportedly meditated under a tree for months without food or water. Whether or not you believe it, many say he was successful, emerging with his body intact and his focus unbroken. These people don't just practice meditation the way most of us do at home. Their version is intense, immersive, and goes far beyond relaxation. It's as if they tap into another layer of existence, a deep, unshakable flow state where their limits of mind and body are pushed beyond what seems possible. Can you challenge yourself to do these things? Remember Dolly, the cloned sheep? She was the first mammal ever cloned using advanced DNA technology, but here's the wild part: that same tech has now been used to reverse human aging. Researchers recently took the skin cells of a 53-year-old woman and reversed them to behave like they were just 23. That's right, they turned back her biological clock by 30 years. By reprogramming her DNA using techniques similar to those used in cloning, scientists were able to reset the cells, making them younger at a molecular level. The results are mind-blowing. Her cells didn't just look younger, they functioned younger. It's not just full-body age reversal just yet, but if we can do this to skin cells now, what's next? Entire organs? The whole body? We might be a lot closer to anti-aging breakthroughs. We've always heard how the Great Wall of China was built by the Chinese to keep their enemies out, but have you ever heard the theory that it was actually the enemies that built the wall to keep China in, aka protect themselves from China? Well, let that sink in a little bit. I know that's a really interesting twist, but before you shut it down, please listen to me. Historically, most of what we call the Great Wall was built by Chinese dynasties like the Qin, Han, and Ming to defend against nomadic tribes like the Zhonggu or later the Mongols. However, there's archaeological and historical evidence suggesting some walls, especially along the Silk Road in places like modern-day Xinjiang, could have been built by groups like the Zhonggu or local kingdoms to defend themselves against Chinese expansion. In a way, it flips the story, not just China defending against the barbarians, but sometimes smaller powers defending against China. The history we know and accept has been accepted for hundreds of years, but it's the small pieces of evidence that make us doubt. It shows how complicated the history actually was, way more than just one side good, one side bad. Beyond that, it also shows how potentially dangerous China could have been and still is. Anyway, let us know what you think in the comments section.
Crazy historical coincidences that cannot be explained. In 1893, a man named Henry Zieglin broke up with his girlfriend at the time, who then died by suicide. Her brother tried to kill Henry by shooting at him, but he missed, and the bullet got stuck in a tree. 20 years later, Henry Zieglin decided to cut down the tree. When it fell, the bullet was dislodged and flew out, which struck him, killing him on the exact spot where he had been shot at 20 years earlier. On August 6, 1945, a Japanese man named Tsutomu Yamaguchi was in Hiroshima for a work trip when the first atomic bomb was dropped. Despite severe burns and injuries, he managed to escape the city and return home to Nagasaki the next day. 3 days later, while on his way to work, the second atomic bomb was dropped, this time in his own city. Miraculously, he survived again, and went on to live up until his death in 2010. In 1912, a woman named Violet Jessup was aboard the Titanic when it sank after hitting an iceberg. Luckily, she survived. A few years later, in 1916, she was on the Britannic when it struck a mine and sank again. She survived. Lastly, she was on board the Olympic, which collided with another ship, and yet she survived again, and is known as the only person to have survived 3 separate disasters.
So you're saying Antarctica wasn't always frozen?
There's a massive hole in Antarctica. You can see it on Google Earth and about 30 meters wide. But here's the weird part. Around that hole, there are bases, research stations. And each base, it's named after a different country. Every major nation has a presence there. They're all studying whatever's in that hole. But that's not even the craziest part. About, I'd say, 15 to 30 miles behind that hole, there's a gigantic pyramid. I'm talking massive. Way bigger than the ones in Egypt. You can see its complete apex. It's been featured on the History Channel, Ancient Aliens. It's not a secret. It's just there. Now, how did a pyramid get in Antarctica? No sand, no tools, just ice. Well, Antarctica wasn't always frozen. That continent, it shifted. The Earth's crust slipped, moved the landmass all the way to the South Pole during a pole shift. Rapid, violent. And here's the scientific proof. As the ice melts, thanks to global warming, they're finding animals buried in the ice, perfectly preserved. And when they dissect them, undigested food, still in their stomachs. You know what that means?
They froze instantly.
Exactly. Flash frozen. Something catastrophic happened. Fast. And nobody's talking about it.
These were the final texts sent by Eddie Justice as he hid in the bathroom during the 2016 Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando, one of the deadliest mass shootings in American history. For 3 terrifying hours, the gunman roamed the club and executed anyone he saw, killing 49 and wounding 53. Victims tried to barricade doors, play dead, or call loved ones as SWAT teams surrounded the building. When police finally stormed in and killed him, the scene inside was pure horror. Bodies stacked all over, blood flooding the dance floor, and phones still ringing in the pockets of victims.
There are things that are bigger than just coincidence.
So mess with the devil.
That's what a ritual is.
I swear it was a prank. I think the label went bankrupt, and so I sold my soul to the devil.
A ritual is something that you do over and over and over again a certain way. You don't care how people feel about the ritual. It's about just following the ritual work. You can fool yourself into thinking there isn't one, but the evidence will be clear.
Hey, so you know that if you were to sell your soul to the devil, you can have instant fame tomorrow. He actually said those words.
Satanism is Satanism.
A lot of people that doubt what you say don't read. Books are not life.
So apparently back in the 1900s, if you asked them, what do you think the world would look like in 100 years, this is something that they came up with. And things like this. In the 1940s, this is what they thought 2011 would look like. But this is important, stay tuned. Now, if you ask people today what they think the world would look like in 100 years, you're probably going to get a majority of the people saying something like this. But imagine if 100 years ago that they imagined that this would be in 100 years. Imagine what the world would be like now. So why are we doing this now? Why do we think that this is going to be the future? Are we manifesting the correct future by believing in these kind of futuristic images? Or can we change it and start manifesting this kind of future in our minds? I would much rather have things like this. So the next time someone thinks about the future, or asks you what you think the future is going to look like, don't think this. Think this. And imagine how much we can change the future together. With just
It's not
a simple
just about
thought.
sex trafficking. It's that when the sex trafficked children and people are used up, they're converted to body parts and sold on the black market to black transplantologists. And I hate to say this. This is really, really distressing to me to say this. But I honestly think every major food manufacturing, meat manufacturing, processing plant ought to be tested for human meat. The concentration of human meat. I think they have a way of doing that, and they claim they do because they shut down a couple of McDonald's. And we've heard people. Remember Rabbi Finkelstein in New York? He was bragging about this. He was talking about, not letting it go to waste, putting it in the meat, and nobody believed him. But then later, this whole thing McDonald's came out.
Right.
Like, what are we talking about here, people? So it's being run,
All right,
and
so we
Ukraine
here
is
in
the center of
Hollywood.
it.
Hollywood Boulevard. They're doing Jimmy Kimmel Live, right? But look at the top of the building. Look what it says. Freemasonry builds its temples among the nations and in the hearts of men. Look at this. This is more than Hollywood Boulevard.
Women, please stop buying our vibrating broomsticks, using them, and then returning them, because, again, we know. I work at Spur Halloween, and please do not buy animatronics, get freaky with them, and then return them to us. None of our animatronics are anything I would ever consider to be attractive, but believe it or not, we have many men come in, buy an animatronic, use it for purposes, and then return it back to us. Now, we know immediately when this has happened, but store policy requires us to accept any animatronics brought back to the store as long as they're in working condition. So as long as it moves in the same way it's designed to do, it's returnable, and we have to put it back on the store floor no matter what condition it's in. Now, what do I mean by condition? I'm not going to get graphic, but we, for our own sanity, clean out the inside of the animatronics because we don't feel comfortable putting them out on the store floor with residue inside of them. So if you are going to return your used animatronic, please just do us the courtesy of cleaning it out so that we don't have to. Also, this isn't just a men's problem. Women, please stop buying our vibrating broomsticks, using them, and then returning them.
The most missing children. Italy, 21,951 missing children each year. South Korea, 25,690 to missing children each year. Russia, 45,000 missing children each year. Canada, 45,288 missing children each year. India, 96,000 missing children each year. Germany, 100,000 missing children each year. United Kingdom, 112,835 missing children each year. United States, 460,000 missing children each year, with 2,300 children going missing every day.
As we can see, at first, everything looked normal. He recorded the atmosphere inside his house, but when he recorded outside the house, there was a strange appearance. If we pay attention, the appearance looked like fire at first, then faintly resembling a woman's face. This video went viral on TikTok and became a topic of conversation among netizens. One netizen gave his opinion that it was just a passerby. The TikTok user responded with a video clarifying that outside his house it was a river and there were no roads. Here is the video. So what do you think from the video?
Everything is so expensive today, and I found out something interesting from 1981 to today. Do you know how much more money there is in our economy? If you look at our economy in 1981, according to the M2 money supply, we had $1.6 trillion in it, with 230 million people splitting it. That means under $7,000 per head in America. Every American, if we split every single dollar that was available in our economy, could have gotten just under $7,000. But do you know what that number is today? That number, if you look at the M2 money supply today, is no longer $1.6 trillion. It is $21.3 trillion. It has gone up nearly 1,300%. So you may be saying, has our population gone up about 1,300%, 1,100%, 900%? Neither. From 230 million in 1981, we now sit at a population of 341 million, meaning we've gone up 48.3% to the just under 1,300%. The money supply has gone up. So that means there was just under $7,000 available per person in 1981, and today that number is over $62,000 per person. 8 times the money available per person than there was in 1981. That begs the question, Where's the money and why is everything so expensive?
Talking about the Catholic Church, I heard about this Eucharistic miracle of Buenos Aires in August 18th, 1996, in this one church in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Someone found the consecrated host or communion, like the bread part, and the way to dispose of that, because it's been blessed, you know. So what they would do is they took it and they place it in a cup of water, basically, and put it back into the tabernacle. But then on August 26th, he opened it up, and what he saw was the consecrated host, the bread, looked like it had blood on it, and it had not dissolved at all. And he's like, what in the world? And so he brought in Jorge, who is Pope Francis. He showed him on September 6th. Pope Francis was basically like, take pictures of it, document it, because this is crazy, because it wasn't dissolving. If anything, it was actually looking like it was growing and like turning into flesh.
Flesh?
So they sent it to this guy, Dr. Frederick, in New York. He examined the sample and concluded that it was human heart muscle tissue. And then he ran the blood type. And the blood type, it was a AB blood. What is a crazy coincidence is AB blood is also the same blood type that was found in the Shroud of Turin.
Shut up right now.
It's not been disproven ever, but the Vatican has also never made an official statement on it. But
That's so scary.
Yeah.
Same people who own the labels own the prisons. So, literally the same people? Literally the same people who own the labels own private prisons. So, you know, it seems really kind of suspicious, if you want to say that word, that, you know, the records that come out are really geared to push people towards that prison industry.
But they didn't make you write those lyrics.
It's not about making somebody write the lyrics. It's about being there as guardrails to make sure certain songs make it through and certain songs don't. Certain flavors are exposed on the record. You know, some records are made by committee. Meaning record company guys sit around and tell the artists, this is hot, say that, do this. We're going to have this guy write the lyrics. We're going to have that. So the narrative is really kind of, you know, structured and really made into what the record company want the record to be. And what the, you know, a lot of artists are frustrated with this kind of music making. You know, a lot of people, you know, feel like they're being controlled by the label.